Hello and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to you if this is your first time. For today's project, we're going to make the basic version of this barbecue caddy. And I'm going to be using cutoffs from another project that I did earlier this month. And that's just a quick clip of the final project on the right hand side. Most of these boards that I'm using are about 11 inches long up to the dog ear. If you don't have cutoffs like this, you can just use one fence picket. The first set of miter cuts will be for the bottom, the front and the back, and those will be at 10 3/4 inches long. The width of the boards that I'm using are approximately 5 7/8 inches. Since these boards are really rough on all sides, I used my bend sander to just sand the sides. Later on, I'll be sanding the other sides of the board. It will be a good idea to sand all sides of the board, or if you have a planer, you can just plane the board so you don't have to do a lot of sanding. The next set of miter cuts will be at 5 1/4 inches long, and those two will be for the two sides. Now with the two sides cut, we could leave it this way and just have a regular box, but we're going to add an angle to it just to give it some character. From the top, I measured and marked 3/4 inches, and we're going to make that cut on the miter saw. But you can easily or safely rip that on a table saw. After making that cut, I made the same mark on the sides, the 3/4 inch mark, and then I'll connect that to the tip end of the back, and that's a cut I'll make on both sides to give it the angle. Now I'll just set the miter gauge to this angle, which happens to be approximately 12 degrees, and then I'll make the cut on those two side pieces. With all the cuts made now, we can start the initial assembly. Once that is completed, then we'll make the dividers. As you saw in the start of the video, there has to be the dividers for the plates and the silverware or the cutlery. As you can see, for the assembly, I'm using quick and thick glue as well as 1 1/4 inch brad nails. At this point in the video, I just want to remind you that all you need is just a little bit of faith and some action. Now to make the dividers, we're going to start by measuring the inside width of the box, and then we'll use that to make the horizontal piece, and then we'll make the two sort of vertical pieces that would be for the cutlery or silverware. One thing I'll do differently when I'm doing this again is to make sure I run the boards through a planer or sand it very well. If you don't have a planer, then just make sure the boards are sanded well and smooth before you start making the cuts. The inside width of the box is 9 1/4 inches, and that's what we're going to make that miter cut at. And remember, the height of the inside of the box has reduced due to the angles, so we're going to adjust the height of the divider to approximately 4 3/4 inches to compensate for that and make that cut. If you're not comfortable doing it on the miter saw, please use a table saw and be safe when you're making the rip cut on the table saw. Next, for the smaller dividers, I measured and marked 2¼ inches, and that's going to be the depth of those dividers. And we'll need 2 of those to have a total of 3 dividing slots. We'll also need to adjust the height of the dividers to 4¾ inches. So I marked that, and I'll make the cut on the miter saw. Now to space those dividers, I'm just going to mark the 3-inch mark and a 6-inch mark, since it's a 9¼ inch wide board. And then we'll place the dividers there, glue them, and then use the brad nails to fasten them. Now we can leave the divider edges just like it is, but they're sharp, so I'm going to take it over to the belt sander and round over those edges. If you don't have a belt sander, you can use a handheld sander and just clamp your material or your piece to your workbench, and then bring this sander onto the material, making the round over edges that you would like, instead of the other way where you bring in the material to the belt sander and then it gives you the round over edge. This is a lot easier and quicker than using a router, and if you're not comfortable with a router, this is a very good and easy alternative to getting rounded edges. Now, as I've mentioned before, you will save yourself a lot of time if you have these boards sanded before you even start. If you do have a planer, the planer makes it go a lot easier. Now we're pretty much done, except to do probably a little bit more sanding, well, final sanding, and then add the handles on both sides of it. For the handles, I'm just using the old cabinet handles that I kept from when we changed the cabinet handles. You can also just use jute rope as the handles. Just drill the hole and then use that as the handles. Or you can use pieces of scrap wood and just attach it to the sides and use those as handles. So you have options on what you use for the handles. That's it for this week's video. I hope this inspires you to go and try and build one of these. And let me know in the comments if you have any questions or suggestions or anything at all related to this build. Until next time, I hope you'll have a tangible experience of God's unconditional love today. Take care and God bless you, my friend. Let me just make a few comments about the upgraded one. I basically just cut some scrap pieces of wood and made them into a simple box suitable to handle the napkins that are attached to the back, and then a cup holder with a pen holder that are attached to the front. If that's something you're interested in, let me know in the comments. Depending on how many people are interested in it, I'll do another video where I show you how I made those attachments. But enjoy this one, and just so you know, I just used self-drilling screws to attach it to the basic version.
Thanks for watching.